I keep saying corn because of YouTube monetization stuff.
Interesting. Um, so what she just stated there is, so she won't specifically call out the adult film industry or porn because she wants this video to remain monetized. You know, there's a bigger sin here than just a bunch of gooning, perverted degenerates that want a little bit of spice in their video games. They want a little bit of excitement in their video games. You know what's worse than that is someone profiting off Jesus Christ and the Christian religion. That to me is the more egregious sin to me personally. So you just heard that. We played that where she said, oh, due to YouTube's monetization. So if you're a true Christian and you want to call this stuff out, isn't that interesting how she's dialing back the moral implications that impact of that because she wants to make money? And that's why that's the reason why she's bringing this up. And she's no different than Anita Sarkeesian. You know, now that I mention it, Anita Sarkeesian at least had the gall to dress formal. You know, when she was complaining about the male gaze and patriarchy and how women are one-dimensional, two-dimensional characters for sexual gratification. Oh, how dare men, right? So she's doing the same thing. The Bible, I don't need to point out particulars about dressing modest and not wearing jewelry and makeup and having plaited hair or, you know, fancy hair. There's plenty of verses. I'm not here to judge Melanie Mack like she's judging all gamers and looping all male gamers into degenerate, perverted gooners like she does here. And Melanie Mack, the reason why people are pissed off is because you're using this grandstanding moralization to demand that video games be fit to your liking. But here's the thing, Melanie Mack, if you don't like these style of games, if you don't like the generalization of that yourself, don't engage in it. I'll use my own opinion here. There's this game called Trench Crusade. I think it's a pen and paper game, and I think it's being developed. It takes the deification of angels, Jesus Christ, and Christianity, and turns it into what I believe to be a blasphemic apostasy of fiction. And you're taking Christian literature and lore and you're fictionalizing it into something that's just abhorrent and disgusting. That I'm against. Now, I'm not going to partake in that. I'm not going to spend $1 on that. And now we're in a country where the freedom of speech covers tons of shit. Books, video games, movies, and even pornography. Now, to which extent you where you draw the line and where you want to be vocal about that is up to you. And that sounds shitty, but it's freedom of speech. And people, the gamers, these gross, degenerate gooners that you're so painting us all as one shade of, like, coat. I mean, you're painting the entire barn one fucking shade here, Melanie Mac. And men are pissed off because they're sick of moralizing women like you, who is supposedly divorced and is posting thirst trap pictures of on Twitter and Instagram, which you're inviting lust. Because it says in the verses, you know, in the Bible, that says, if you look at a woman with lust, you're committing lust in their hearts. So if you yourself are uploading thirst trap pictures of Instagram and Twitter, I've seen some of these where you're wearing yoga pants, and even when you're doing this moralizing grandstanding here, you have a choker on, which is very sexual in tone and nature. You have tons of jewelry, you have tattoos, you have makeup on, you have eyeliner. So who's that for, pray tell? And for someone who is on such a moralistic crusade, you sure love to doll yourself up for the male gaze, right? And male attention. I wonder who's that for. You know, so again, if you're gonna go on this moralistic crusade, try not to be a hypocrite about it. And more importantly, if you are to take up a religious crusade, it kind of helps if you actually point out the evil you're detesting against instead of coming up with terms and using and going by YouTube's community guidelines and terms. If you weren't a coward, you would be calling out adult film industry and porn, you'd be using those terms without fear. But since your main objective here is to make fucking money like a grifting piece of trash, that's it. And that's what this 33 minutes is. It's basically the flip side of Anita Sarkeesian, but on the right side, where she's coming up with false equivalencies. And she even mentions this Descendants game with the stats. And a lot of people quit playing it because of microtransactions, and maybe the gameplay was repetitive and shitty. She does not bring that up. Which should, and I just want to point out here, she didn't even play the fucking game. So what she did is she saw some degenerate gooners perverted gameplay where they're getting like gynecological with the camera, right? And Zeus like swooping in close to whatever. But she states that she actually didn't play the game or actually observe the content. Because you can take any game out of fucking context and make it look terrible. Same thing with any fucking movie. So that particular point doesn't fly. And especially when you have shit like World of Warcraft. They had a dancing elf and a Draenei alien that it was a normal dance, but you can move the camera around. So again, that's to personal what the person does in the privacy in their own life. It wasn't the game being intentionally perverted. But then again, you need to make a point. You need to grift and make this bullshit point to rattle the Wookiee cage and whatever gets you money, I guess. Give more credence to gamers, because even though that game had like revealing suits and skins for characters to wear, that should give more credence, because then the game still failed, because then that displays that, yeah, the game had lustful content or perverted gooner material and it still didn't work because the gameplay sucked. So again, she uses all the same straw manning that the left does, and it's not because she's a Christian. It's because she's using the same tactics, the same ideological nonsense, and mental gymnastics to try and police people's hobbies. And at the end of the day, people like to have fun and have like hobbies, and they get pissed off when people try and enter in, especially a woman, to try and enter in and condemn and shame. And masculinity is a part, I mean, in my humble opinion, even with the sexuality stuff, and some men need that to discover themselves. And I know that sounded really gay and libtardy. And people are going to find stimulation in some way, okay? But anyways, that's why people are pissed off, Melody Mac. It's because you're essentially the same thing as Anita Sarkeesian, but on the far right. You want to demand change to people's hobbies, and even though as just and righteous as that may be in your opinion, it's just you don't have the right to police people's hobbies. And I get that as a Christian myself, but then again, I've already pointed out some of the hypocrisy with their own character. And it's all a grift. And this goes to show you that within the culture crusade, you can damn well bet that there's people on the right and the Gamergator side that are using this just to make money. And when you're lessening the impact of your moral crusade and your arbitration and your speech, you're curtailing the very fine points of your opinion to keep your video monetized is a bit suspect to me at the end of the day. And again, in closing, there's worse things in this world. And someone who's trying to profit off Jesus Christ and to essentially be the female thought version of Kenneth Copeland and Joe Osteen, I find that detestable. And yeah, so she's no different than Anita Sarkeesian. And this is where, again, who's to say there's retards on both sides of this Gamergator culture crusade. And see you next time. God bless. Stay happy, stay healthy. And let's hope these, it's just...